This is iRacing.
This is absolutely huge.
Cannot script this race.
Straight down the inside. We went into the corner. There's a bit of panel rubbing.
There's contact.
Sanchez Gonzalez is around.
The second half of the season now will begin in earnest, and the chance to chase down the gaps that have already been made becomes critical. 3 rounds in, 3 rounds to go, 6 races still on the docket, 3 sprints, 3 masters, but this might be one of the greatest circuits the world has ever produced out there. It's a name that screams with reverie around the motorsport circles. When you know that Imola's on the calendar, you know you are in for an absolutely awesome race to come up. Welcome here to the second half of the SimRacing Republic GT Open here on the Global SimRacing Channel. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside with me for today's action is Craig King, as Christian Deploy sits in the director's chair using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what to be said about a truly majestic circuit that has seen it all and has done it all in racing circles? Let's get a chance to say this is what this track is all about with your GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds 1 more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them?
Well, what hasn't this circuit done, and what does it offer in terms of amazing action out there? It opened in 1953 as a thank you, of course, to his son Dino Ferrari. But for Enzo, he knows Emilia-Romagna is very firmly Ferrari territory, but it has been dominance with Ferrari so far this season, Craig.
Yeah, it's a wonderful track. It's a tough track for overtaking, but that doesn't take away from the action you get here. A little bit of elevation changes at the middle half of the track, all the way down to that legendary Ravazza 1 and 2, which does open up. You've also got to deal with a corner that drivers have been struggling with in practice today, Acqua Minerale. The downhill braking, keeping that speed up is real challenging. Back in the day, we didn't have the chicanes at Tamburello and Villeneuve, but of course, after that tragic weekend in 1994, safety changes were made. Tamburello got brought in, and I feel like it's a fantastic addition to the track. The old school moto chicane that they used to run in the F1 days, that's not here, and thank God that's not here, as we like to have a lot of speed here today, Jake. The name of the game will be getting advantage down through the start line to make an overtake before Tamburello.
Yeah, turn 2, so critical out there as far as today will go, as we find ourselves quite high up on the boot and getting ourselves ready here on the Adriatic coast. Looking forward to racing action then that will be taking place here today. But let's walk into the championship perspective here, because this is going to be where it gets quite interesting. So Team Huisingveld right now, they have 5 wins out of a possible 6 to go, but they're only 32 points clear over German SimRacing.de, the 17 and 18, who are out there. Now, Absolute Acelith have themselves a little bit of a problem today in the fact that none of their 5 teams out there, or 5 cars, were able to submit their lineups early enough. They missed the deadline. They will all start from pit road. They are 3rd currently in standings, ahead of Firefly iRacing and then the Hyperion Racing 4 and 5 team, who are not here today. You've then got the Firefly iRacing 138, 139, Sudsport Racing 66 and 67, with the Acelith GT3 at 30 points behind that, with negative delta by SimGear.gg, who've had to re-kickstart their points tally for the season, and the Jens Brothers competition 106, 107, back just 6 off of that mark, Craig, which leads to the Pro-Am division, which right now is looking like a Firefly funhouse.
It is a Firefly Funhouse, but there's no Bray Wyatt here to give you a little bit of a move, or a Sister Abigail, because Firefly lead the championship 1 and 2 with their 4 drivers, and the advantage goes to the 140 and the 141. Absolute Acelith, well, they are 3rd. They're going to need a little bit of help today, being that they'll be starting from the pit lane. Jens Brothers will be there in 4th. And then the other Absolute Acelith will be in 5th, probably looking to get some help out there. Line GP technically brings up the rear in 6 and 7. Negative delta because of that switch after round 2. Officially classified as last in the Pro-Ams, but they won't be sending any more points in those Pro-Ams.
They will not. So that is going to be a case of get yourself on for some amazing action then that will come forward. As far as this sprint will go, they understand the rules of engagement here. This is a 25-minute race that they have to them. GT3 spec, with the results determining the grid of the master race, an hour and 5 minutes that goes on through. Now, this custom balance of performance as well, Craig, as we're about to head to the grid, has itself a case of everything has been hit in some way, shape, or form. So, 4 kilograms of ballast for the Ferrari, the Mustang, and the Lamborghini. The Chevrolet and Mercedes have 3 and 2 kilograms of ballast on it. Power restrictions, none for the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. 0.25% of power restriction for the Mustang and the Ferrari, and then half a percent restriction for the Chevrolet and for the Mercedes. That's what sets them up. Everyone limited to 47% of a fuel tank to go with. Grid, though, is now set, so let's run through this very quickly, because Team Hoisingveld, again, only have themselves to look at this moment, being up at the top there. 141.522 for Jan Senkowski. He's got 5 wins this year, with Mirko Bruckner, the Pro-Am, in second, with Lars Vetzig and Venceslav Rajchanov in fourth for Negative Delta by SimGear.gg. Denis Bayraktarovic then in 5th position, with Pascal Hurl in 6th, with Julian Eichenlaub 7th for the Jens brothers, and Ivan Boromechkov jumping in today for Negative Delta by SimGear.gg.
To the second page and further, Jan Korbs will be there in 9th for Jens Brothers competition, and Sven Landgraf will be there for Firefly in 10th. Patrick Schaefer will be behind him, his teammate in 11th, and Nick Hansen will be there for Team Huisgenveld in 12th. Then it's Colin David for German Sim Racing in the unlucky 13th. Stephen Freiburghaus for Firefly in 14th. Raphael Heck will be 15th for Jens Brothers. And then the absolute ace with cars, all starting in the pit lane. Volpato will be there for the 169. And just go over the rest of the drivers for them today. Amaya will be in the 170. Caserta in the 69. Bellino in the 104. And the there's another 69 there. Just ignore that. That's just a little bit of an error.
Yeah, so they're all down there in that position to go to 20th, and that wrong car submission is Alessandro Vanozzi, so that is a wrong team name submission, and as well, that will have to be looked at by the stewarding team as well. So not only is that a failure to declare driver lineup, it's also a failure to declare team name properly as well. So Vanozzi will be in a lot of trouble for that then off of the start. They will have 25 minutes and only half a pace lap here, Craig, to go as we take a look at the wonderful foliage around this circuit, because they are perfectly hidden there down through the trees to the mineral water corner of Acqua Minerale.
I've got my own little bit of Acqua Minerale right here as we get ready for this race. It's a lukewarm day out there. I say lukewarm, it's actually quite a warm day. 35 Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge, and I wonder as well as we saw some of the drivers just losing the car a little bit as they come out of Acqua Minerale. Lovely camera shot there of Acqua Minerale. This is the problem that it's going to be for a lot of drivers. The Variante Alta, it's high curbs here, Jake. You can try and make a move through here. Side by side is a little bit of a death wish, and the drivers will look to avoid that, and especially when we come to the master race where it's a little bit of a fuel saving category, you might not see a lot of moves going into that chicane.
Well, I know that it is known for everybody as the Variante Alta. They have renamed it now to the Curva Grissini, and that has been the case for a good few years now at this point. So that, of course, named after Mr. Grissini there, who is is still so important when it comes to motorcycles out there. MotoGP Grissini Racing is named after him, of course. So there's always that sense of what you've got. Ravazza then, these two 90-degree left-handers to set up the lap. Senkowski then, who will have to deal with Patrick Schaefer for company, Lars Vetzig, and then Venceslav Rajchanov then making up your top 4 as far as it goes. They're going to be looking at a strong start here to racing. Bone dry, and they'll be happy for that, and it looks like it'll be bone dry for the entirety of running, so they won't have to deal with rain, which they have done over the last 2 laps. Waiting for the drop of the green flag to go, and there goes Team Huisingvelders. There is the launch, and what a lovely start that was over Patrick Schaefer. Lars Vetzig needing to immediately make this move to keep the team's championship relatively close. We know that German Sim Racing have a lot of responsibility then with the 17 and the 18 cars to go and work forward with it, but great fight by Schaefer through Tamburello, really giving it everything you can as they all work through the opening section. Still a bit of contact over to the Villeneuve chicane. Schaefer just has to lift out of it. Brilliant stuff. And now watch around the outside. It's deep from both the Sud Sport cars. Hurl off the road, followed by Bayraktarovic.
Really weird decision there from them to go for that move, and Hull's gone around, and that's going to put a bit of a moment, and only one car getting caught up there, and it is Jan Korbs who gets caught up there. Little bit of damage on both the cars, but they will move on by. A little bit of a interesting moment there as well. That was an interesting start, by the way, Jake, with Schaefer. Almost looked like he didn't know where Lars was out there and just started to give him a hip check by accident, and that could have turned into something big with the still warming up tires. That gap now to the front. Pentalski has almost a second gap, Jake, and dare I say it, in the first lap, that elastic band has snapped.
Yeah, immediately, and that is the joy that he's been waiting for. Get a gap, work with it, and just try and dominate out from the front of the field. So I would be worried in and around to see where everybody else is looking to pilot and put it, as there is Raichanov in 4th position, and critically for the negative Delta team, Ivan Boromechkov just behind as well. So we'll be also looking to try and leapfrog up. Great run then by Raichanov over Patrick Schaefer, and this is the difference. Mustang playing up against Lamborghini. This is going to be all about brute force in a straight line, and this is going to be the inside given to Raichanov through 1 into turn 2 at Tamburello. Gets the pass sorted here, minding those anti-cut curbs then on the curbage on the inside. A very lovely pass, and Raichanov knows and understands how important it is after 2 rounds ago having to start this season again from scratch as they got moved division.
Got moved to divisions, and some drivers would say, yep, I think that's the fair decision. It is. They're going to have to start from scratch, and this is what they want. Notice how strong these front engine cars have been at the start of this race. You look at the Fords already up places. You look at German Sim Racing, they are already up 1 place and 5 places respectively. Firefly, the other drivers, other teams in 4th, they're up 3 places each themselves. And I know there was an accident, but that still means they have to get a lot of driving going. A little bit of gravel there being picked up out of Piratella, so they're going to have to be careful. But those front engines really, I feel, going to enjoy this track here. Just the way you have to get the power off when braking down the hill, get the front pointed. It really feels like this is a little bit of a dream for the front engine cars today.
It will be. And so they are going to just try and get as much grunt and drive as they possibly can, and to say, look, we are going to try and make something of this. We're going to get as much as we can. And so we know that we just got to try and stay calm here with this run. Raichanov still following out there, but this seems like it's Mustang Central at the moment, the way that the pace is going about things. So German Sim Racing number 17 is currently there in that 2nd spot, and they're going to be very happy about the fact that they have got that gap and they are looking to use it. The A team, by comparison, as Senkowski sets the fastest lap, is in 8th place. Colin David has gained 5 spots off of the start and is looking to charge, and is already ahead, crucially here, Craig, of the number 48 with Philip Klinger behind the wheel. So that's going to mean that the more that number 18 keeps climbing up, the more dangerous that German Sim Racing team is going to be for the championship.
Yeah, Hoskenveld, the only cars using Ferraris out here, and you feel like they're probably 2 different setups. It feels like a Yuki Tsunoda, Max Verstappen situation here, but Phillips just not getting the pace he wants at the moment in that car, and just having to accept what he's got. Well, Dennis is behind Colin David. This is kind of crucial as well for Sudsport, not having the best starts. But if you notice that you all just bunch up better on the brakes there for the Support Racing 67, Colin David not getting what he wanted. I think this dirty air, double toe, everything really starting to hinder, as microphone over the face, out of the way, triple monitored. Look at the bouncing when he went over the curves there at Grassini. You could see how much the car is shaking in the sim.
It is. There is Byrek Tarovic then on the brakes, trying to really muscle his way in through Ravazza 1, down the hill, flat through Ravazza 2, looking to get the drive back out the other side. 6th in Pro Division there for Sudsport Racing Gold, eyeing up German Sim Racing Red, but Colin David looks more likely to attack at this moment in time. He's got his eyes set on Sven Landgraf at this stage. Landgraf is going to have to go out there and defend for position, but on the inside, Colin David's not going to sit by and wait. Dives it up the inside and gets the pass done lovely. You're not going to have any arguments about that one. Seeing a positional change into play then for this. Colin David up then into that 7th spot, +6 and motoring.
And that's going to bring up, as we go side by side, just behind, round the outside. Heck always had a very narrow line to turn back into there, and comes together, which I believe that was one of the Firefly cars out there. Yeah, it was Freiburg House he was side by side with. Yeah, a little bit of a risky move there, Jake. It felt like he was going a bit too fast through the Villeneuve chicane there, but Pascal Hull on board with him right now. And this is where we get to start to see a lot of the issues. Because look at this train he's following. And he's very calm at the moment. And I do love seeing this. He's got a map of the Nürburgring beside him. Not the right track today. He's probably going to need a few more lefts and rights that track has on the map.
Yeah, he might need a little bit of help out there, and Pascal Hurl here, he's going to be someone who's trying to jump up the order too to get through the curve of Grassini here, and Hurl on the back of Curbs, Bruckner and Freiburghaus, who is there in for Firefly iRacing Blue, trying to work on 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Now, that's 11th now to 14th overall, and critically, think about how much time as well that Absolute Acelith lost by having their pit lane start and having to trundle down. They really got caught out by it, and they're going to have to rely on a lot of drama to keep themselves into position. Again, this long front stretch is going to be important. They took out the Variante Bassa on this circuit, Craig, to give them the opportunity to say, look, let's make Tamburello actually an overtaking place. This used to be a nightmare to pass this circuit.
I disliked it. Absolutely. They tried to make something different. And also remember, back in the day, the Variante Bassa was right before the finish line. So you had to go for the chicane before you went to that. It almost felt like it was Spa going through here as Hull right on the back of Corbs. Just going too much. I think some of the drivers here through Villeneuve having a bit too much of a difference in speed. But I always say you can't make a move into Tosa unless you can make a move into Villeneuve. So they go up to Piratella. We do have a few replays to show. They come through Piratella down to Aqua Minerale. And Jake, I think this might be some lap one moments when we get a moment for the replay.
Yeah, so Pascal Hurl trying here through Aqua Minerale, double apex corner, trying to get a drive up the hill, but the Corvette's got enough in the toe that it's not going to be under that threat here, under braking as they go. Schaefer side by side now, suddenly trying to look around at this because that is the pass on Venceslav Rajanov. They've got back through for position, and critically done by going a little bit too deep then through the curve of Grassini, and just a wonderful pickup of run from Schaefer to get back to third.
I think Rajanov may have had to serve a slowdown there. He couldn't get back onto the racetrack in time and probably serve one of those iRacing slowdowns that he has out there. A little bit of a problem. Eichenlaub would love to get some moves up right here, trying to catch up to the Firefly Racing, the 138 up ahead that Patrick Schaefer is running, because this is their battle. This is what they need for the Pro-Am. So all important for those drivers to go by Pascal Hall. Still looking tight and close, and at one moment, these Lamborghinis, I say Lamborghinis, you've got Jan Corbs and a Corvette. These cars, they're going to have a moment together in them soon. They are so close when they come to braking, and it feels like Mirko Bruckner is just taking more speed off through the corners than the others are preparing. Here comes Corbs, he realizes it, tries to go for the move, almost a factor 3 wide there, pushed wide. Pascal Hull's going to get that spot.
Very much is, and now up the hill, this is going to be where they fight Piratella. You do not go too wide here. It's a close-off corner, contact, off then goes Mirko Bruckner, and that looked pretty much resolute in terms of where that was going to happen. That was always going to be close. He tried to move across, waiting for the clear, and for me, Pascal Hurl there has been way too elbows out for a move like that, trying to pinch a bit more track.
Going back to the racing line, I know he was trying to open up the corner, but that felt like he was going back over to the racing line there for a moment and deciding probably not clear enough, didn't know where he was. That is going to be one that they're looking at definitely. And look, even now, he's finding himself, he's got some speed compared to this Corvette. Not going to try to do this around the outside of Ravazza, is he? Well, he's forced the issue through Ravazza 1, through Ravazza 2. This is going to be a great move around the outside. Holds the grip as well. Caught a slide as well, Jake.
Well, he was trying everything, wasn't he, to get that move done. Well, a little bit of calm needed there as he was out over the curb, but he's not clear because of that. So Curbs has a good chance of battling this one back here to Tamburello. You're going to have to go around the outside again, since now here comes the chance, and that is well played by Pascal Hurl. He does have the ability to put some amazing overtakes on the board, but the only issue with Pascal Hurl is for every time he makes an amazing move, he also finds himself one time where he's off the circuit.
Yeah, and that was a little bit close. He could have had a moment out there, but he's now trying to pull away from Jan Corbs. Here's that replay we were talking about into the first corner, and they're all just slowed up a little bit. There is Pascal Hull going around. I understand they had the speed, but you have to slow down a little bit through that final part of the Villeneuve And then I would argue that's not the best of rejoins, best of turns, trying to get back up with gravel on the tires, cold tires, trying to get the throttle down round Tosa did not work as heck. And for Pato going side by side. And remember, Nicholas was starting in the pit lane, already made one place, apart from he's gone wide at Akron Minerale.
Well, he's got the fastest lap then of those in GT3 Pro-Am, so he is absolutely charging here, is Nicholas Volpato, and knows exactly what he's got to continue finding out there to do in the 169. So absolute aceless will look at that and go, yeah, we've definitely got abilities here to go continue charging out there and gain as many spots as they can. These first 25 minutes for them, just about recovery, as Raphael Heck still sits in position. Schaefer now with the fastest lap in category at the moment will feel very comfortable, as now here comes Bajrek Tarovic looking for the pass here on Landgraf and gets that one done down the inside. Thank you very much. I'll take that one very comfortably in terms of how they go. Noting here, no further action declared between the 141 and the 194 for the incident that we saw at the very beginning. And then minor contact responsibility, 5 seconds is going the way of car number 66. That's Sudsport Racing Chrome. So Pascal Hurl is getting dinged.
Just makes the move of the day early in the race and now going backwards after making the move of the race. That's going to be tough for him, and also for the championship for Sudsport. He's going to need to pull ahead. I mean, at the moment, he's all right, but if he finishes where he finishes now, where he is, he'll only lose 1 spot. Barachavik would love to move up. Got that move on Landgraf, but also knows that will bring along a Mustang and a Ferrari in the back of this, and even more. And you've got to feel for Philip Klinger as well. He's just trying to get points here while Sentolski's at the front of the field, really being dominant. But he knows he has to try and find his way to catch up to the negative deltas, to catch up to the Sudsports, the German sim racing. He needs to be up there to really give them a good chance to get some good points in this race. He is struggling at the moment, but I'll tell you what, Dennis has got some good pace here. They may be catching up to the rest of the field.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key. We've got to see them jump up, try and get up there and say every point's going to count. Now, if you want to talk about how these points are going to count in position for overall right now, Huisingveld find themselves then with that 48 car in 10th place. That's 10 points in the pocket. By comparison, German Sim Racing Red, they're in 7th place right now, which is 16 points. So that's going to be a gain of 6 as far as they stand, but they would go the other way as far as we take a replay at this moment in time. We'll just take a little look. This would have been Mirko Bruckner then as he was working through into Villeneuve, seeing the contact there as they walk through. There's one hit and there's the second, the tip out that says all you need to know about that one for the Jens Brothers competition. They won't be too pleased about that. But it's 3 points difference at the top in sprint, 30 for a win, plus 1 out there if you start the race, or if you get the fastest lap out there. So for the moment, Team Huisingveld would be dropping 2 points out there. 2 points doesn't sound like much in the sprint, but remember, the feature gets more points and you'd be starting with a disadvantage.
You know what points mean, Jake? They mean prizes. As Baratarovic will just continue on, still trying to catch up to Colin David. Let's look at this moment here. And opening the corner's fine. That's not fine, because he was still side by side with it was Hole there, and Pascal didn't really have anywhere else to go. But in trying to open the corner up, he just took out Ruckner there, and Ruckner all the way down the back now of the field of the drivers that didn't have to start in the pit lane. The absolute Acelif will be the pit lane starter, so that's unfortunate for him, but that's just a sign that this is a tight track, old track as well, with the tight road, and you're looking for every inch. And unfortunately, if someone's occupying it, that's going to happen.
That's what we call tunnel vision, and almost as if you forgot that there was still a car on his right-hand side. Our focus turns to Schaefer versus Wetzig here for second position overall, and it's Lamborghini here, the leader of the Pro-Ams, going out there against the Mustang in that second spot. Watching and waiting is Venceslav Raichanov, who wants to prove he's got the pace. And I note as well behind there's been a change for position over the last few laps, because Julian Eichenlaub then has got through on Ivan Boromechkov, that for 5th and 6th positions. at the moment. So that has a little bit of emphasis that goes. 8 3/4 minutes then on the clock. Down the hill to Aqua Minerale. Back up the other side again. Schaefer trying to drive with as much prowess as he can. Now, this is the sort of circuit as well here we talk about, Craig, where it is nightmarishly difficult to get correct the track limits, and they'll be turning around and saying, okay, well, there is no, quote, track limit out there, but you don't want to keep picking those up time and time again.
Well, as you just said that, Rajadov just picked up another slowdown through the Grassini chicane. And that's just because they're trying to extend the exit, trying to use all the runoff. But the iRacing rules are, if you don't come back over the runoff in time, it's not an off track, it's a slowdown. So he's had to struggle, and he was trying to catch up to this battle between Schaefer and Wepsig as well. And you're going to see him very shortly, a few seconds behind. There he is. He's had to serve that slowdown, losing almost a second just by doing that. He's out of this battle. And I tell you what, I think Schaefer, through these chicanes, the Lamborghini does look better. When you think about the bot, also got the power to boot for it as well. And look at the defense that Wepsig had to put on to come to Villeneuve.
Yeah, he's just having to plant that very big, bulky brick of a Mustang in the middle of the road and hope that there's no way to get around. And on a circuit as tight as this, Craig, that can be the best strategy. If you put the car in the middle of the road, where are you going to get around? It is so difficult to get correct. And so this circuit right now is one of the greatest hot lap circuits in the world. It's tough to go out there and race, especially from an offensive standpoint. Just ask Michael Schumacher in 2005.
Too soon, Jake. I know that's 20 years ago, but that's still too soon. But it is true. Because of the track, even now modern day, with the artificial overtaking that F1 had around here, it was so tough for the drivers to really look for opportunities. You look at GT World Challenge around here, it all comes down to strategy calls in the pit lane for the drivers. It's really tough. The only place that this really excels nowadays, and that's not a knock, is endurance racing with the multi-class, the WEX, the European Le Mans Series. Those are the places that really accelerate here, due to the fact that you get that breakup in the classes. This is technically multi-class with Pro and Pro, but it is that GT World Challenge multi-class, and you can just see that Firefly would love more points, trying to get to Wepsig, but they are struggling to make those times, to make any positions up, and hard on the brakes, and not close enough. That almost was a rear ending.
Yeah, it's multi-class in the sense of challenge license ratings, very SRO-ish in the way that it's put together. Another look again from Patrick Schaefer to Lars Wepsig. Not finding it here. Senkowski is gone off the front of this field. They're not going to catch him over the course of this race, and they've got to be a little bit more switched on to that in the Master that comes up immediately following. But Lars Wepsig here is doing everything he needs to at this moment. And speaking of those who need to do everything they need to, also will be Colin David, looking back at Bajrek Tarovic, trying to get himself back up into another position. So I've just noted as well that John Amaya is down in pit lane right now, and I think that will be just to say that this first race is not going to warrant anything. I'll come back for the second one a little bit more refreshed, but Schaefer up the hill then over to the curve of Grassini and really try to attack the curves through the middle. The more you take the anti-cut curve, the path of least resistance is a little bit quicker.
In the path of least resistant quick lines, you want to be fast here. You want to make sure you get those times. Schaefer attacking Wepsig, and this is good, but at the same time behind his teammate Colin David under threat from Bajrek Tarovic in that other car. So both of the German sim racing cars are in danger right now because they know they have to hold off some tough competition behind, and that's going to not help them when it comes to points. They'll have to make sure they just hold these positions. 4 minutes to go, just a handful of laps to go. I reckon that's about 2 laps to go after this one. So they are safe, but one mistake opens up overtakes.
Let's take a little look at John Amaya here and where this goes wrong. I think he's looking just behind his teammate here, up into Grassini, back steps out and into the fence there. Those tyre bundles he finds, and so he takes it back to pits and realises, yeah, that's going to hurt in terms of damage. But that damage between this round and the next round, Craig, in a couple of weeks' time, is going to be completely different because you'll get to use the brand new Sim UI for what damage you have in the pits.
Sim UI bringing some fantastic changes. That new UI, able to just see brand new information about the damage. You get a damage status instead of just a spotter. Also, tell you what I'm looking forward to, Jake. The pit lane's going to be really interesting now because you get a better hands-on approach in what's going to happen during the pits. And on a race like this, that could be crucial because some of the drivers, when we come to that Masters, they have to serve the 5-second rule. They can't be in the slow lane during the pits. So look for that and look for Baratarovic to really put some pressure on, because it feels like the cars that are front-wheel drive, front engine, they feel really comfortable in the curves usually. That Lamborghini's looking a lot comfortable when you go through the curves, I feel.
It looks a lot more like it can attack, and part of that will be down to the center of gravity as Jan Senkowski goes quicker again as he moves into the 141.5 with that attempt, but he looks to try and set up Colin David. Running out of time here with 2 laps to go around Imola here in the sprint. The Masters next. He closes right up behind the Green Eagle of German SimRacing Red and can't quite find a way to get this pass done. Pushes a little bit wide, but now looks for a way to go and gather this one back through the Villeneuve chicane. It's a short shoot run here out of Villeneuve. It's too long to be short, too short to be long, but long enough that you can dive it at Toza, which, say it quietly, is the toughest corner on the circuit.
I would agree with that, and that's what they say. And just don't forget as well, it's a little bit of camera on the inside, so a move around the outside always tough. What about Patrick Schaefer?
Oh, no, not here.
To try and make moves. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I know you got the run, but you got to brake for the first part of Aqua Minerale. Then you still got to hold the brakes down for the second part, and getting on the throttle is tough. You don't rarely see that when it comes to multi-class racing, so that was a little bit of a brave look. But was that him giving the Lewis Hamilton there, Jake? Was that him just saying, I have got the run, just look out, let's see what you do if I just put my nose forward?
What will you do? What can you do? Where can I find it? Ravazza straight down the inside. Room having to be left then on the outside. Better drive it's going to be through the middle and still fighting it out then. They'll have to go all the way to Tamburello turn 2 to get this done. Colin David working that outside line with everything that he's got. This is a great attempt by Schaefer. Loving this is Reichenov here. Venti wants it. Last lap then starts an important point that need to be documented and seen in terms of where overtakes are going to be found. On the brakes they go, outside lines there, little bit of contact between them, but still they force side by side as they come out now. Where does Reichenov look to stick his nose in on this? Surely they can't think about 3 wide into Villeneuve. They won't. Round the outside will try Lars Vetzig, and still he's there on the inside now for Toza. Surely Patrick Schaefer can find a way, and he goes very deep into the corner. Now here comes Reichenov to look to try and make it double trouble here for Lars Vetzig, who's getting a lesson on how difficult it is to battle here at Imola. Over the top of the hill and leaning on each other. There's contact. Reichenov gets his way through on Lars Vetzig, and Vetzig will get the place back as Reichenov redresses the position and says, I didn't get that one fairly, now we'll wait. So up the hill, he'll get another chance here as he works himself to the next section. They've allowed Julian Eichenlaub to get to the back for the Enns Brothers competition, 193. They'll work it over here through the right and the left of Grassini. It's now Ravazza where the key is going to be for this move for third, and they cannot afford it at German Sim Racing Cyan to let that position go. Senkowski's rounding the final corner. Vetzig is defending his way into Ravazza and does so. It's 6, 7, and that is big. 6 and 7 for Jan Senkowski. A huge win again for Team Heusingveld. Firefly iRacing Silver take the Pro-Am category with a second spot, and a good hold in the end from Lars Vetzig. What a battle he had on the last lap.
Good hold as well from Colin David, his teammate, and Jan Korbs, remember, had that penalty. And that gap is not good enough. Nicholas Papato will overtake him, but Marcel Caserta won't get past. So that's going to only let him drop 1 place down as the rest of the absolute drivers head back from the pit. great battling, and what a lot of respect that was from Reichenhoff to readdress that situation. He knew it was hard racing, and he knew the mistake happened. He did not want to give that over that move like that. He had that respect, and that's going to earn him a lot of plaudits.
It very much will, and there will be a lot of looks then in terms of what that is going to look like out there come the end of the race. But a sprint that went by in the blink of an eye there, and critically, a strong result at the office for Team Huizinveld. Their 6th win out of 7 here from this. And if you keep winning, you make life very, very tough to take a championship like this one. Jan Senkowski just doing Jan things with Lars Vetzig, Venslav Reichenhoff, and Ivan Boromechkov 4th in class. Colin David gets 5th in class, then ahead of Denis Bajrak-Tarovic at Sudsport Racing, with Philip Klinger at Team Huizinveld 7th, and Pascal Hurl at Sudsport Racing then in position number 8. Over then we will go to see the end of the page, and it will be Jan Kurbs there in 9th with Marcelo Caserta in 10th, and in that 11th spot for that absolute Acelith team there in the number 70, it will be Alessandro Vanozzi ending up 16th overall, a gain of 4. Craig over with the Pro-Ams.
2 of the Pro-Ams will go, and Patrick Schaefer does take that victory over Julian Eichenlaub, so that's going to be great for Firefly Racing, because his teammate Sven Landgraf will be there behind. Well, I say teammate, that's actually Steven Freiberghauser's teammate, who finishes in 4th. Nicholas Papato will get that 5th place, and Raphael Heck will be 6th. Dami Obolino will take 7th. Mirko Bruckner will be 8th after that little incident earlier in the race at Piratella. John Amaya will be the last driver, finishing in 9th after that moment through Grassini retired the car early in the first race.
Yeah, so that now pulls into perspective where some of the dramas of that opening race have now set themselves up for. And one of the keys I think they are looking at here at Imola is that this is a true driver's circuit. Now, when we say a true driver's circuit, people don't often understand what a true driver's circuit means, Craig. My understanding of it is that you are tested on absolutely everything around this circuit. You are tested on the way that you do high-speed corners. You're tested on medium-speed corners. You're tested on low-speed corners. You're tested on uphill braking, on downhill braking, on trail braking, on carrying speed through the middle of corners. You are tested on every single skill around this circuit, and this is one of the few circuits out there that does that and keeps an almighty flow to it. Not many circuits can test you on everything and still drive nice.
No, let's look at a COTA. That's basically got everything you described there. High speed, low speed, medium speed, uphill, downhill. But it just feels like it's a hodgepodge of corners and complexions back together. This, they basically got this right first time. Sans the chicanes, which they had to do just to slow the cars down because they were going too fast. And I think that's a true testament of how good a track is when they have to slow you down by putting those in. And you ask yourself, how do you slow a car down with a chicane? Well, you have to get the right combination. None of the 3 chicanes are identical to one another. You look at Tamburello, it's got a very sharp opening that just continues that speed that you've had to take off to get around, and that feels more traditional in a chicane. You get to Villeneuve, it's got that high speed entry point that you then slow down for the right-hander. It really does give you that ability. Technically, Aqua Minerale did have some adjustments to it. That used to be a pretty flowing corner now, but I feel that might be one of the greatest corner sections in all of it in this part of Europe, I feel, Jake.
I think it's one of the greatest corner section runs, where you go from Tosa over Piratella, over to Aqua Minerale, and then Curva Grassini. I think that might be, in my book, the greatest sequence of corners in the world of motorsport. You can't change it any other way. You wouldn't put the corkscrew there for the Curva Grassini. You wouldn't decide that you'd put anything there, because the nature of this circuit is that it has an undeniable flow to it. You are corner into corner into corner. And the one thing we haven't talked about yet, tell me if there's a straight that's actually straight on this circuit, and I don't think you can find one, with the exception of the maybe runs at the start of the lap. which give you maybe the chance. Because you look at this section here, you've got this arcing run over to the right, which challenged your braking zone as we focus with Nicholas Volpato here to Piratella Corner. That's what you got to focus on. So your mind is affected before you brake. And then here, down the hill, you don't have the chance to really think about it. Already into the braking zone, turn and brake at the same time. And here on the exit, you think you're clear and safe, but no, you still got to turn it to the left to go out there the other way. So you're really getting the sense of this is a circuit that challenges you even on the straights.
Just as you go over that hill, that's the straightest straight on the track. And that's not really a straight. That's just an interlocking into the next part, which is Grassini. And then you start to go downhill. And I love this because you have to turn to the right here, but then you have to set yourself up. So you're braking almost before you hit that apex there to break down for Ravazza. And then how much room do you want to throw out on the outside here to set yourself up for the second part of Ravazza? You've got a lot of runoff there, and I love how it flows. It's probably as well, we talked about the best complex there, Acum Minerale. I'd also go to say Ravazza. So you're up there when you're thinking of great final corners in motorsport. The way those two just work together. It's technically a hairpin because you're doing a 180. It's two 90s put together, and I just love every moment of it.
Dan Curbs for the Jens Brothers competition number 93 effort here today. Noting that they have Julian Eichenlaub then as far as the 193 it will go. But he's going to be running on his own for the main team as the 194 with Raphael Heck. Then is also going to be out there and focusing. So for the Jens Brothers, actually I've just noticed something on the team, right? So they are called the Jens Brothers competition. That 93 is running on its own. And so in-game, it's currently classified as the Jens Brother competition because they don't have a second brother to go with.
Oh, I know that feeling. I know that feeling without any brothers. But yeah, that's a real...
Same here.
That's a real good catch there. We're just chuckling about this in the booth. I do like that. It is true, though. It is the Yen brother. And it is a shame, but sometimes you have to fight on your own. And you look at it as well. Sentowski, last time out, Jake, he was on his own for Huskenveld. Look what he did on his own. Sometimes not having that other aspect of having a teammate is kind of a blessing sometimes. I know it sounds crazy, but then you're not having to worry about get together with one another. We've seen that twice in a row now, Jake, in race weekends, where we've had teammates collide with one another. And I just feel that allows you just to put your head down probably a little bit more. As much as you want to worry about what the overall position is, you just have to worry about your race and you're fully focused. So, brother without an S, yeah, it works sometimes.
You know it, and now 2.5 minutes here before we head into the main race of the day, the Master, and there's a big number of differences out there, so now would be a great time to just start talking about those differences that you'll have between one race and the other, because we've had a sprint race of 25 minutes. That will give you something to say. This Master race, 65 minutes long. This is a two-stop race with the tank that they have available to them. The fuel limit is going to be really important. 47% of a tank. Roughly, you're going to be going just shy of half distance. That's why it's 25 minutes for the first race. It guarantees that you can go all the way. And this is where I think you're starting to look at now a different style of racing. Because sprint, get your elbows out. Master, strategize.
You're going to have to think about your fuel as well. Usually it's 2 pit stops in. Last time out with the rain, turned it into a 1 pit stop battle, and what a battle it was as well. Don't think we'll be seeing that today. It's going to be tough to really save fuel down here. Lots of straights? No, just one straight to really utilize. So we're going to have to see who wants to try and extend that first stint as long as they can. Or we saw last time with the Acerlift cars, underfueling and taking an early pit stop, doing that undercut actually worked for some of the drivers. So strategy will come into play, and do look for teammates to be pitting around the same time if they're running around one another. I think that might also be the case, that some of these teams will have to look at where they are just to get an advantage with one another, because the buddy system, Jake, thumbs up, it's the best system.
It is. You come in with someone, you leave with someone, you realise you got slipstream on your outlap, and that can be really, really critical out there for you to go. Off goes Philip Klinger, taking a little bit of a skirt off there to see the gravel pit around at Villeneuve. And this is something that we often haven't talked about here. This is an old school style circuit in the sense that while there is areas of runoff, it still has the old school pitfalls of there's gravel at Tamburello, there's gravel at Villeneuve, there's gravel at Tosa. You get over to Piratella. If you go off too far, there's gravel there as well. This is a gravel pit circuit, and it's one that, again, requires precision. It's a precision-based circuit, and there aren't many circuits around the world that say, look, the challenge is don't touch the gravel, don't touch the anti-cut curbs, just, you know, stay away from all that trouble as far as it goes, as the checkered flag comes out in warm-up, and we'll have the ability to run you through the grid of where they are going to stack then for racing action exactly as they finish then in heat number 1. So Team Huizinveld have the control of the field once more as they will start this one from the front. Firefly iRacing Silver then is going to be alongside them for company, with German SimRacing Cyan going from that 3rd spot, and 4th then for, sorry, I'll correct myself then as they go. They will be, German SimRacing Cyan in 3rd with Lars Vetzig, and Vetslav Reichenov then in 4th for Negative Delta by SimGear.gg. Julian Eichenlaub and the Jens Brothers is then in 5th, with Ivan Boromechkov in 6th. Colin David then will start this one in 7th for German Sim Racing, with Denis Bayraktarovic for Sud Sport in 8th.
To the next page. And in 9th, Sven Landgraf for Firefly iRacing will be in 9th. Philip Klinger for Huizinveld will be 10th. And then it's Freiburg House for Firefly iRacing in 11th. Pascal Hall, after that penalty, will go to 12th for this race for Sudsport. And Jan Koorts for Jens Brother will be in the unlucky 13th. Nicholas Papato will take 14th for Absolute Facelift. We get to the Acelift cars now as Marcelo Caserta will be in 15th. And then that 16th car, got no name on it. Don't worry about that. It is out there. It's Vinozzi. Raphael Heck for the last 2, Jake, just to go quickly. For Jens Brother, Bellino will be in 18th. Mirko Bruckner will take 19th. And John Meyer will round out in 20th.
Yep, so now they add themselves to an hour and 5 to try and lock out what they need over the course of this seasoned run. And I think they are now understanding that this is going to be where they look to try and eye up this race. If they get this one exactly the way that they want to, they're staring down the barrel of the second half of this season. They know that it's Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time, and then finishing the championship out on October 4th. They've got the streets of Adelaide to put their sprint and master crowns together and see, can I get the result that I want? So this is going to be here at round 4, the 8th race of this championship of 12 races out there. And for this one, it's been a case of Huizinveld just have the solution, and Jan Sinkowski has just been better than everybody else when he's set his mind to it as they drop then down into Ravazza. And I will say this time and again, my dream house is to have one of those apartment buildings there on the right, one of those houses that overlooks Ravazza, so you can say on your doorstep is amazing, great racing that you can get to. They're going to have to be switched on here to this start. It wasn't the most amazing start last time out from Patrick Schaefer. He's got to do a little bit better than that if he wants to give himself the chance to attack here, the Team Huizinveld Ferrari. Here comes the charge then for this race of an hour and 5. Lights are on, the ability to jump. They are now in the start zone and they are underway. Again, a little slow on the launch then from Firefly iRacing Silver. They move across and cover Lars Vetzig this time though, as Vetzig wants to try and find his way through. Lovely 2 wides as they head into Tamburello, and there's a big check up then. Massive concertina through the opening corner. It went about 6 back if I break a little bit too far. Went all the way back to Sven Landgraf, but critically good moves done off the start, which includes Klinger getting through on Colin David here.
Good start as well. Great start for Klinger. Also good look at Baracharovic as well. Already up 2 places as well. Making good moves. Jan Koorts as well. Trying to get some places, but he's backwards for the start of this race. He'll get 1 place back as he goes side by side with Vinozzi, but that's not the start he wanted for that 93 car. Is for there. Pascal Hall would love to go up more, but he's lost that position. Landgraf trying to make a recovery early doors. Key here, Jake, Be calm for this first part of the race. Let's not go aggressive because there's still 2 pit stops to make your time.
There's 2 pit stops, and if there is a massive incident out there, safety cars can be called out then for hefty damage out there. So they're going to have to be careful about that, and that could definitely just make everybody's strategy wince as far as they now set. Big block thrown back in the pack between Freiburghaus and Caserta, as Senkowski not clear in the same way that he was at the start of the race. So he will be looking around at it, or the start of the last race, he'll be looking at this going, okay, well, Patrick Schaefer's going to give me a race here for this one, as he uses the slipstream very well to his advantage. Single file through the packs as they will work through Heusingveld, Firefly, German Sim Racing, negative delta as they go. Senkowski does not have any natural light today coming through. It's peeking through the windows. He wants to concentrate here today.
What if he's got a storm outside that I'm probably going to be looking at very shortly, and he goes wide there as well. Freiburghaus as well having moments at the back of this as well, trying to get back on. I think that was a nice little save after what happened for him. But look at this queue right behind the 141. There's a lot of drivers all just jostling for positions behind. The last thing you want is one of these drivers to have a moment. The Ace-Lift cars almost came together in the background. Did I just see that? Did I see Bellino and Amaya almost come together? They're being a little bit racy. They know with their bad their bad first race due to not having...
Oh, no way.
No, Pascal Hall.
Pascal Hurl just has this ornate ability. That's a defense, by the way, around the outside, because Nicholas Volpato lunged it up the inside, but there was absolutely no way on God's green earth that Pascal Hurl lets anybody have a position for free. And so he fought with everything he's got to go and get there. I would turn around, if I was someone looking around for a new GT3 driver for their sim racing team, if you were able to control Pascal Hurl's tendency to keep it on the circuit, if you're able to get that together and get the pace up, Pascal Hurl would be a wonderful driver for your sim racing team.
100%. He's a driver that's been around as well, and I'm surprised he's never really been looked at as a driver of somebody would like to get him. Jens Brothers, great team. There's no knock about them. But if I'm trying to make a team that wants to try and compete for the top splits and just start building them, I'd put my name there for him as well. Definitely for Pascal Hall out there. We've had a moment in the background, by the way. One of the absolute Ace-Lift cars went around at Grassini, caught off the Jens Brothers car, the 194. Raphael Heck had another bad moment. I think we're going to get a replay of this. And we saw this earlier, Jake. Car taking Grassini a bit too much. There goes the spin. Wasn't team contact. And that's unfortunate. And that's why you're always told, please hold your brakes.
Well, I think he did. But you've got to remember here with these cars, Craig, they have traction control. And so when you hit yourself in the brake and you go into the low levels of the engine revs, the traction control starts kicking in to try and stop the car from locking up the brakes. And so when that happens and you get the traction control kicking in, it actually causes the car to slide out a lot further than maybe you naturally would expect out there. And I think Damiano Bellino has done everything he could, but it's just the traction control has kicked in, and that is -1 mark in my view for electronic aids in sports cars. Bajret Tanovic then looking to try and find himself a way to get up the order. This is up against Ivan Boromechkov, who seems like he's had a really good run of things today. I know him as a Pro-Am style driver, not up to the speed of Raichanov. Big avoiding action needing to be taken there. Bajret Tanovic from a long way back down the hill gets the pass.
Yeah, but key there, slowed it down to continue the corner. Ivan, great avoidance there as well. Straight up, got the little bit of the chuckle there. He knows that was a little bit cheeky. Head down now, but he might give that position back. You never know, but that could have ended in tears, and that could have been a moment where you have drivers being, well, don't like you anymore, but great move, and he needs that. Look at the time they've lost. Up ahead, the next negative delta car, there it is. That is Raichanov, already 2 seconds up the road. You can see that Dennis would love to get some more points there for Susport. And Jake, remember what do points mean?
Prizes. And, well, this is going to be where you go for it. Oh, look at the fights then. Two lots of them right now, because now Julian Eichenlaub wants through on Boromechkov as they fight up the hill. Volpato can't get his move at the moment over Pascal Hurl, but Boromechkov loses one. Now here comes Klinger, who's pushed out onto the grass, has to catch the slide, and there's back through. Critically goes Colin David and realises, look, we're going to get some time. Landgraf now wants in, and Colin David immediately realising here there's one driver who's weak here in this train, and it's Ivan Boromechkov, who doesn't have the tyres in a window that he likes. He is sliding about like nobody's business.
Wow, that's a rarity. You don't want to call someone the cork in the bottle this early, but this early in the race, you can't even look at doing your first pit stop. And if you're caught in this battle right now, if you are a Philip Klinger, if you are a Sven Landgraf, you're probably thinking, I need to undercut here. I need to think of something, because this battle is a little bit too hot in this train. But what a result this could be for Colin David. Already down one place in the feature, in the Masters. Would love to get some more up, because the top four haven't changed position. So every points that him or Klinger can get is a bonus for Huskenveld or German Sim Racing. So this is the important group to look at, because the top two in the pros pretty much solidified. These drivers are looking who can get the best result for the second car.
Well, who has that best result? Who has that ability to say, look, it's the points? And yes, while the top driver out there for their respective team is the highlight money maker out there, it's the drives of Philip Klinger, for example, that's going to secure the championship. And this is what we keep talking about. Last round at Magny-Cours, where was the teammate of Team Heusinkveld, Jan Senkowski? Nowhere, didn't turn up. You look at Philip Klinger now, he's got to be there. He's got to be scoring points because the team needs him.
Yeah, they need these points because they know the situation. They know that German Sim Racing have a strong team here. You look at it, Colin David, great driver, bringing up that second car as well. You look at Lars Wepsig as well at the front, knows what he has to do. Jan can do a lot. He's done a lot in his years on the sim. Trying to win a championship on his own, that's not exactly something he's able to do. So this Ferrari that Klinger is throwing around right now would love to make some advantage. And this is what I say, Jake. I would not be surprised if one of these cars in this group does an undercut and tries to hope that makes it work.
I think there's definitely the sense of it, but also it's the sort of circuit, Craig, you can sit back in the train and really start saving fuel.
And this is it. Look at this long straight right here. You're probably going to also see some of these drivers may even look at doing a little bit of lifting as they come down this in the run to Tamburello. I wonder if we're going to hear it on one of these drivers. And no, I've just had a quick look, listen myself. I see that Klinger didn't decide to do a lift. None of these drivers lifting at the moment. I would be lifting right now, Jake. You've got the ultimate train that is being powered right now by Eichenlaub. Why would you want to be passive? Let's use it. Let's use that train. Let's use the fuel saving.
And Venslav Rajchanov says, well, I want to use my ability to go and jump forward and get by Lars Wepsig. That's key, as they have lost ground here to the leaders of AM and Pro and Pro-Am out there of Heusinkveld 49 and 138 Firefly iRacing Silver. Jan Senkowski, who, by the way, was driver of the day last week on matter of his consistency level out there, which is as a formula directed out then in the racing. So Senkowski was the best driver out and out over the last effort and attempt then. It's busy with Klinger as he's now had a slow moment. There's almost contact between Hurl and Landgraf as they try and work around, and he almost comes over and blocks the line there a little too late to Nicholas Volpato. It now puts Marcelo Caserta's absolute ace lift car into position. Klinger, I think, just run it a little too deep through Aqua Minerale, and it's not shocking to see that as he goes through. In fact, he actually caught the inside of the anti-cut curves. He's on the wrong side of the road, and he gets contact for good measure as he loses out to Marcelo Caserta as well. Disaster.
Let's watch this again as he's just going to come down for braking, hits that curve. Those anti-cut curves are there for a reason. Comes back on, and he has to serve a slowdown. Everyone's trying to find the best line they can, and there is no best line out there. And that is a nightmare moment there for Klinger. Remember to talk about the championship. Jan would love some help. He did all that work last time out in the rain in one of the best drives he's ever done. That's to what he said himself. We're not putting that on him, and he needs that help. Benozzi now is a real good shot here to try and get a little bit of some stolen points for Absolute Ace Lift, because they did not turn up for the first race. Not their own fault. They didn't have the right registration. Now the time for them to get the points.
Yeah, they've really got to start wondering, all right, we got to jump up the order. We got to do everything that we can. There's 100 points on the docket out there for what you get in this one, and 2 points for the fastest lap in your category. So for this, you're turning around 102 points on the mark as Hurl stays on the rear. Closer, Landgraf gets the run off the exit then as Landgraf runs slightly wide, but ultimately by being so unbelievably close, I don't think he's close enough to have a lunge up there. He could have sent a big one up the inside there, but you can see he's got focus and he knows everything about focus because his favourite circuit's on the wall there, Craig, of the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Yeah, and he also knows that there are corners that you can't really try and send it in at the Nürburgring, just like you can't do it at Gresini. And if I ever saw a driver today go for a late lunge at Gresini and make the move, I'll buy you an ice cream, Jake, because it's not going to happen. You have to be side by side to really make that move. You can't lunge it in. But he's got a great run out of Ravazza 2 here, and he is closing as the light starts to drip down. 5:30 sim time. And he's close enough. He's got to put his nose out here. This is the lunge he can make, but they break so late, he can't do anything with it.
At the moment, it would be a case of a 4-point gain for Team Hoisingveld compared to where they are walking in because of where Klinger sits at the moment in 13th spot. And compared to the 8th spot of Colin David, and the first v third margin with the fastest lap in Jansenkovski's hands. Hurl hurls one in at Tozer and says, no, you thought I wasn't going to go for a move like that? Caught you napping, Firefly iRacing Red. He is so good at that move.
Was there a little smile on his face there when he did that? It did look like he had a bit of a laugh there. He said, well, you left the door open. All right, thank you very much. Up 3 places. Really good, but look at Landgraf. Better run out of that corner, even with that moment, but could not make a move there through Minerale. And that called Minerale, you don't see a lot of drivers go side by side. You talk about it, Jake, with how old this track is, with how old school it is. These corners don't open up the overtake. That's why this is the tough track for overtaking, where you need a little bit artificial help out there to make moves. And that just goes to show that you have to force the moves, but those are corners you don't even look at to force an issue.
No, and what you got to remember as well is that the Curva Gresini out there in terms of a corner, there's a reason why Variante Alta was one of the best in the world, as we get now pit stops starting to take hold, as in comes Caserta and Volpato for their first stop out there. Reichenov now sitting on the back of Lars Vetzig, still hoping for a way to get up to second in class and third in this race. There's a reason why this circuit is so revered out there, because corners like the Variante Alta chicane, which is now the Curva Gresini, was this fourth gear, flat out, right-left chicane that tested the very bravery of, do you want to keep your right foot down on the floor, yes or no?
The old days where you would see nowadays supercars just go over curves and put 2 wheels up in the air. Those were the days, and I think safety kind of played the right factor out there, and they could not do that. So that's what you would look for. That's what it's all about. Remember, this used to be, well, when you think about Monza being the temple of speed, I would argue that this is what Imola used to be. Just speed, speed, and more speed. And Reichenov would love some more speed, because this is an important battle in both categories and both championships for German sim racing and Negative Delta. Great run for Borometrov behind for Negative. Can Reichenov really put the screw down and make a move on Websig? And that would be a big issue for German sim racing.
Wow. Top 4 remain undisturbed from the order that they started in. Up 3 is Sudsport Racing Gold with Denis Bayraktarovic, who's had a really good run. You got Eichenlaub down 1, you got Negative Delta down 1, and German Sim Racing Red down 1 out there. The cars that are making moves were the ones that went off in race 1. Sudsport Racing are the ones who are going for it. Schaefer, another fastest lap in his category right now, and he's doing really well. I want to go to the race lead here for a second, because we are well into this race here. 15 minutes have gone. And Patrick Schaefer has not been shaken off of Jan Senkovsky. In the first race, he ran away. In this second race, nuh-uh. Firefly iRacing Silver, right there. Patrick Schaefer is driving the wheels off that Lamborghini.
Yeah, brilliant driving. You think the last time that Jan would have been really threatened like this, well, it would have just been when he came out the pits in the after the wet tires, battles at the front, at the back as well. And Maya for Absolute Acelif, the 170, trying to hold on as he goes side by side with Freiburghaus. Goes too wide there through Tosa, so he'll reset as well. Yet this is great driving. Give it up for Schaefer as well, holding with Santolski. Might get the win. And that would be the second time a Pro-Am has won a race here this season, Jake. Although that's an asterisk because that Pro-Am driver is now a Pro driver.
Yeah, it would be an asterisk on the label. They, in fact, lost all their points and got disqualified from the race. So, in actuality, there hasn't been a Pro-Am driver who's won a race by the rule of the record book out there. Pascal Hurl still working hard here because he looks behind Huizingveld, then with Philip Klinger, then with Alessandro Vanozzi directly behind. We'll be thinking about, okay, where do we want to be out there working our call, our race, our opportunity. Here through Ravazza 2, looking to drive so aggressive. On the inside curve goes Vanozzi, and in comes Klinger. Then to take his first stop, wants to get out of the frying pan here and work that pit stop. There'll be a sense of this where he's trying to mitigate the damage here to Volpato as Rajanov still can't get by. Call it Lars Vetzig for position. We'll take a replay, top right corner of your screen.
Pascal Hall, let's see what's happened to Hall. He did this time. It's not hitting the curb. It's actually missing the curbs altogether. And Pascal goes around, and that's another driver having issues at Aqua Minerale. I said that the drivers were struggling out there with that corner in practice. That just goes to show that it is happening even more. Klinger, by the way, great decision to undercut. I think that's what I forecasted that, and I think that's the right decision. I wouldn't say he's out the frying pan into the fire.
He's been undercut himself.
He's been out undercut. He's out of the frying pan, and he's into the air fryer, it feels like.
Yeah. Marcelo Caserta and Nicholas Volpato have undercut then Klinger for position. Great work then by Acelid. They'll jump up with that call, give themselves fresh air to attack. They're in the 41s at the moment. The only other drivers in the 41s right now are those inside the top 5. Rajanov then is looking really, really punchy against Lars Vetzig, trying to find a way. This is Mustang then looking to fight hard against Mustang, but the German Eagle will just keep itself into position as there will not be much of a chance for Venceslav Rajanov to go and find that move. When you're fighting in the same car out there, it's just setup that makes the difference between these two in sim sense.
It's setup, but it's also experience. And I know German sim racing have driven a lot of front-engine cars in their GT3 days. You look at them driving the BMW, they've definitely also been driving this Mustang. So they've got a lot of experience under this, and that also attributes to being able to find just those small nooks and crannies that you need when it comes to setup making. But if you know how a car works, you get to just utilize all the effort out of it. But look at the different styles, because again, they come out of Villeneuve, different speeds, and Rajanov realizes that, and he's looking a little bit testy. I wonder if he's not careful, Web6 not careful here, Jake, next time or the time after, Rajanov may look for a move into Tosa because he's letting that door open a little bit too much.
And if he's defending a bit, well, why don't you let the door open, come in and pit maybe 10 minutes earlier than you would do otherwise? I think that's another scenario that might open its eyes up to what's needed at this point. Remember, you've got to try and take enough fuel to get yourself to the end of the race. Get yourself in a margin where that can be applied, and you're looking around and you've only got, what, 5-10 minutes if you run the 47% tank all the way to the end of its run and end of its lifespan. So you're turning around and going, well, if I pit in 5 minutes earlier or 3 laps earlier, that's my margin cutoff. 5-6 laps. Here comes Venceslav to the inside, and Lars Vetzig had to let him have it by nature of the corner, because you can't shut the door down the hill. That was just so brave there from Rajanov to get that move, and it does mean negative delta now profiteer and jump over German Sim Racing Cyan, and that is 7 more points gone in the championship as it currently stands to Team Huizingveld.
Do you know, I think Webstig's fuel saving. I think that's a lot of the reason there, because I think he was just doing a lift when he was coming through into Tamburello. So I wonder if he's now trying to find an extra lap, and I think that's it. I think he's trying to find an extra lap in this stint, and I don't know if the overcut's going to work, because you look at what happened with the Huiskenveld, you look there with Klinger, that overcut got hit, well, that cut got hit by an undercut, so I don't know if this is good from Webstig to try and extend out here. I think you're just going to have to burn all that fuel and go for it. So losing this position might not be the best decision at the end of the race.
We'll see, but Webstig now in fourth, sitting behind with Bajrek Tarovic, trying to work away up the order. This is what you're trying to sit down with. Is your strategy going to be the one that gets you what you need by the end of running? And maybe Lars Webstig here just starting to understand where that's going to be and where that's not. That's a kick and tail. This is Damiano Bellino here going through turn 3 and 4 out of Tamburello. Back steps out, and that's how quickly the back can step out then, as he found out the hard way by sliding it out there, going through on this lap directly behind Mirko Bruckner of the Firefly iRacing Bronze. Nothing you can do about that. The car just let go aerodynamically.
Yeah, and it's so tough. If you don't get the Tamburello chicane right, that little turn 4 left-hander there, if you just don't get the right angle, you're putting a lot of pressure on the car, a lot of pressure on those tires, and the grip just starts to go. And I wonder if that's a little bit of that happening there with that car as they go around. Baracharovic as well, really now in a great position. Up 3 places for the day. Great drive, well, for the race, sorry. Great drive so far, and Sudsport would love this. A good 5th, a 10th as well overall on the track, but into the pro category this would be great. But all I see is Webstig is going backwards, and I've noticed that Reichenhoff is starting to pull a gap as well to Webstig. So this is not good for German sim racing. End of the stint, car's getting lighter. Feels like this car just isn't planted like they want when the fuel is light.
Let's just put the seeds the other way, though, here for Team Huiskenveld, because car 48 out there, which is the car of, that would be Philip Klinger here, has just been given a warning for moving under braking / blocking. So Klinger's got to be very careful. We saw the incident that happened, so they've been given a warning for that, as they currently run in 19th position overall out of the 20 runners that we have in this race, 10th in class. So that for Philip Klinger is going to be a wake-up message. You can't keep doing that. You'll have to continue on, and hopefully you don't get caught up and brought up by the stewarding team once again. No takers again through the top 6 runners out there, as they're going to look to run the tank dry, because less fuel in the tank is the quickest way to go and conduct a race.
Yeah, when you do running, you want to be lighter. That's why Nike and all these companies have made shoes that are basically as light as a feather when it comes to marathon running. You want to make sure you don't have a lot of weight to drag around, because that's just going to produce a lot of drag. So these cars will really be happy when the car gets lighter out there. And I wonder if this is what we're seeing. You have to set a car up. It's interesting when you think about this. Normally, when you've got an endurance race in these cars, you get about 100 liters of fuel, and you set your car up to be higher up so it can take that weight. This is less fuel than what's in an iRacing sprint race. So they're having to also utilize a little bit more fuel, but I have to have that balance where the car's going to be quick and nimble when it's on that full fuel, and when it's a little bit lighter. It's a tough battle when it comes to the setups. And speaking of tough battles, Colin David is now battling the other negative delta, and I think he's gone backwards as well, because Borometrov has got ahead of him.
Well, Ivan Borometrov was ahead anyway. I think Colin David's more rather closed in right now, and it's a lot closer. So Borometrov is maybe the one who's starting to look behind a little bit more. Colin David knows he's got to keep moving, but being down 1, he's got to really try and dig down deep here, find that pace. And we note that Colin David had the pace at Mangi Core. He was the one who was the hot knife through butter. Here at Imola, I think he's struggling a little bit more, and certain circuits suit certain people. Into the pits comes Patrick Schaefer from 2nd position overall, the leader of GT3 Pro-Am.
And with him comes P2 in GT3 Pro-Am. And more drivers. Jens Brothers 193's coming in. Well, the 193, of course, is one of those. It is the Icon Lab as well. You've got Landgraf, you've got Hull, Schaefer in 4, 5, 6 cars. I count 6 cars now in the pit. Basically, all the Fireflies have come in together, and we're all here to have a good time. I think they'll be looking for a magical time out there. Colin David, though, continues on. How long do the German sim racing hold these positions until they decide the car is out of fuel? We've got to come in, give it a lap or two. I'm curious to see if Websig has actually done the fuel save.
I'm looking at Volpato here. He's going to jump Eichenlaub for position, so that's going to be huge. So too Marcelo Caserta. So Eichenlaub is out of the pit. Here comes Philip Klinger. He's going to be close, but he's not going to be close enough here. But that is them ahead of Landgraf and Pascal Hurl and Alessandro Vanozzi. So that's brilliant stuff. Then from Team Huizinfeld, their strategy has got them up to the Jens Brothers Competition 193, or in this case, the Jens Brothers Competition car that wants to try and hold its ground and say, look, we're still out there and we're still working here, working hard then to try and get this sorted. Keep an eye, top right corner then of your screen. This is Nicholas Volpato, and this would be the moving under braking that we saw that gave them the warning. Boof, almost making contact.
Oh, at the first glance, you probably said he was looking for a move. No looking for a move. Leader in the pit. Both leaders in the pit. All the top 3, 4 in the pit right now. They're all coming into the pit. And crucially, one of the reasons Klinger got that jump on the rest of the drivers, 2 to 6 seconds faster than everybody else in the pit lane. He underfueled that car as well as undercutting. He's going to have to take a lot of time in the pit for the second go. Is it going to work for him? It paid off already, but he's going to need to find more advantage. Anyone going to try and jump Jan in this pit lane? I don't see it. In fact, there he goes. He doesn't need to worry. He's going to take that lead comfortably. I just wonder, actually, where is the 138 of Schaefer? He's just going to be beside if they come to the throttle.
Yeah, so they're watching the back of shot. He's going to turn up. There he is. And so he's still going to be a little bit behind. Then by comparison, and up to speed. What a run by Nicholas Volpato to move up. Caserta down the inside. Snipes one through on Lars Vetzig. And this was the little bit of moment that I don't think these teams were understanding here. The absolute Acelith are going to sow the seeds of chaos in this race, and they have completely interspersed themselves in betwixt and between the likes of German sim racing here and Team Huizinfeld to the detriment of the Eagles.
Someone call Robin Hood Men in Tights, because this is the story straight out of their storybook, because Acelith absolutely took no fuel in that first pit stop. I talked about how Klinger was 2 to 6 seconds faster than anyone else. Well, both Acelith cars at the front of the field now were 2 seconds quicker than than Klinger. Just goes to show as Landgraf continues on, takes this for a ride. This is actually gonna put a massive spanner in this works, Jake. No one knows what's going to happen now unless they're looking at the stats, and you're too busy driving on your own to even bother looking at those pit lane stats. They're just going to have to keep driving.
And I turn around to you and I say that car 170 out there has been given 5 seconds worth of penalty out there. That is John Amaya in this race for, guess what here, Craig? The 5-second rule violation. You cannot run through the boxes.
Well, I was going to get ready to look at that, but hats off to the stewards. They've been on that faster than I was ready to look, because they know the situation that these 5 seconds are important. It's 5 seconds at the end of the race. It's not a drive-through penalty or anything like that. It's 5 seconds at the end of the race. Pascal would love to find a move out here on Colin David. This could be implications. Gets the run. Is he going to do late braking? No, brakes at the same time. Deep braking by both drivers just holds them off. Gonna keep my eyes on that, Jake, though. I think that might not be the first person getting a 5-second penalty for the 5-second rule.
Well, Colin David now sitting here really having to defend, 9th in his own class at the moment as he works then with Pascal Hurl, trying to get by him, and lots of drivers now up ahead of him and seeing the position changes that have gone about through the first stop. He is really on the back foot now, down in 13th position, -6 off of the start of this race, and that team hoisting above 48 in 9th position right now. So really is going to have to do a lot of work out there to go through, and suddenly this is turning to disaster. David on the defense, Aqua Minerale, how close does that Lamborghini want to sit behind the Mustang spoiler? This is going to be a great run up the hill. If you want to go for it, Pascal Hurl is the sort of guy who loves to chuck one up the inside, but this time discretion the better part of valor.
I still keep my ice cream because I thought he was going to make that move, but he decided against it. But because he decided against it, he lost his momentum. And you need that momentum through that part of the track to really keep up. And for some reason, that just caused a little bit of a hold up there for Pascal. I reckon he'll get a good run out of here. In fact, that was a little correction from Colin David. So that gives Hull a real good opportunity to get on the power right now, see that German sim racing rear, and start to see the beautiful side of it. Some more bit of defending there, pushing him on to the grass.
Wow, that is going to set everything that you can and then some in terms of the battle that they've been trying to set. That was tough there for Pascal Hurl, but Pascal Hurl right now, I'm just getting word in from race control, drive-through penalty for incident point level.
Well, especially when he's just had a little bump like that, but that's got to be incident points for overdoing the off-track. That has to be the off-track. Still trying to run outside, and they come together. In all due fairness, that's not on Pascal.
He's tried to shut the door, hand up there, the universal sign of frustration there from Pascal Hurl. Just getting absolutely through the ringer. Colin David could ill afford to get caught out in that moment. He was trying to shove him out then in the same way that Michael Schumacher did Juan Pablo Montoya at that corner. But the argument actually that you're going to have here, Craig, and I am going to use this to you, the white line determines whether you're on circuit or not. And Colin David, to the letter of the law, did not have the right to let Pascal Hurl back in.
But I will also go that Pascal Hurl had to go around over the white line because of the line that Colin David was taking. And if we're going to have that same comment from Montoya and Schumacher, to quote Montoya, and I'm not directing this at anybody, if you didn't see me, you've got to be either blind or stupid. Well, they're neither, but they have to understand that they do have the call of car right and car left.
They do, but it's about how much room you leave, and if you think that you're going to get the clearance, you are. Hurl now into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty as Marcelo Caserta here looks for a way to get to second. Let's now take a replay of this here. So Colin David's got himself the inside. Pascal Hurl is on the outside here, and Colin David, you look, runs wide there, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that's on Colin David. I think that there's enough room left through the entire way around to the point where Pascal Hurl is off the circuit at the time you decide to commit, whether you should have a car there or not. Now, the question's going to be, if you're Colin David and you want to prioritise saving your race, do I want to drive over to the left on the exit to make sure that the car on the outside actually comes back on smoothly or not? His hill to die on. It's cost him time, places, and damage.
Well, I'll say the interesting thing here. The stewards are only investigating incident involving the 18, not involving Pascal Hurl. So I don't know if that's just a mistype there from the stewards, or if they feel that that is Hurl. That could just be an issue there. So we'll look back at that as well. So just have to worry. But it's just noted for the 18, Jake, not Pascal Hurl.
We'll keep an eye on that then for Notzi here with Ivan Boromechkov here in this scrap for 10th place on the road here. 8th in class is Vanozzi. 7th in class is Boromechkov, who is trying to keep his foot down planted to the floor, give opportunity, give understanding here at this track, and now trying to work on for it. Now, we'll take a look then here at this replay here, courtesy of GSRC. Now, the key here is Colin David. So he's moving across, moving across. I'll be honest there, I don't think there's actually any overlap.
I don't think there's any overlap, but at the same time, are you going? I think that's what the incident involving 18 is. Not
I've just got word. I've just got direct word from race control. They are looking at the incident as a whole, Craig.
Okay, the whole thing. I do agree. I do agree. Looking at a whole, I do feel that the track just fell over to the left there, Jake. But how much left do you want to go? Because are you going to start ruling that as a block? That's just me hypothesizing out there.
Whoa, Ivan.
If Venozzi goes a bit long there and Ivan goes a bit wide as we get back to the racing, we'll talk about that in a moment, because these two, oh my word, they almost came together.
Yeah, that's so squirrely there from Boromechkov, and he's going to have to dive across the road and try and get himself back. Slow down penalty there for the Bulgarian, and there goes the position. Alessandro Venozzi gets another one on the board, and that moves him up now, +6 for his race so far. He's not even the best out there in this one. He's 7th, and I'm so shocked to see this here from Ivan Boromechkov. We are in sim time nearing 6 o'clock. Track temp still 30 degrees, but Boromechkov driving across the circuit left and right there as if he needs heat in the tyres.
Is that him trying to say there's heat in the tyres, or is that him trying to do the international sign of, I wasn't exactly happy with what happened there? I don't know. We'll have to probably look at that later on. Klinger as well would love to make some moves. This has been a good second half, middle half of the race, because of the race of thirds. When you think about it, with 28 minutes to go, great middle half here for the Huskenveld driver. Needs to do as much as he can to limit the damage in terms of points. German Sim Racing still 4 seconds up the road, but Klinger is doing enough, and I can allow him ahead of him. He could just get ahead, might get a bit of clear air, because right ahead is that 67 of Sudsport. Dennis Baracherovic is right ahead of him, trying to pull ahead, and this is the car that's the problem for Klinger.
Yep, so Denis Bayraktarovic is the one that is going to start running away here. Eichenlaub is doing a good job here of holding his ground, but Philip Klinger here is the one who needs to work through for Team Heusinkveld to get as much margin as possible, because you consider where the final 2 circuits are, Craig. I put it to you, this is probably the most settled of the last 3 rounds of the calendar. Watkins Glen is a lottery up the hill on lap 1, and Adelaide, anytime you go to a street circuit, it's a lottery.
I think Adelaide's more of a lottery than Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen's going to be a very interesting battle after the first lap, where it comes to fuel saving when you come to the Master. Adelaide's just going to be a battle royale. So if you can get the points here today, you can limit the damage at Watkins Glen and then cross your fingers and hope that your numbers don't come up on the national lottery when you come to Adelaide. So this is an important race for the drivers, and this is why that undercut, that light fuel load that Klinger put in the car is so vital with the cars he got ahead of.
I do note that Pascal Hurl has parked the car and said, my race is run. So Sudsport Racing Cromsey, another retirement out there, as again, Klinger, good run coming off of Tamburello. Not going to get enough of a chance here into Vilna, but if he carries the speed through the second part, he can climb up to Tozer. Just couldn't quite manage it, so Eichenlaub has that covered on defense, and that Ferrari looking very squirrely under braking there, Craig.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that the home of Ferrari drivers would have an issue in a Ferrari, but it just feels like that Philip hasn't got this car where he wants it. I don't know if he's using the same setup as Jan, and Jan probably got it more suited to him, but it does feel like this Ferrari struggling through some of these corners. The mid-speed stuff, I've noticed, just a little bit of an issue, but that little twitch under the braking also could say that he needs to get that brake bias sorted. He's got 25 minutes left. A little change on the brake bias dial, especially when the fuel starts to get lighter, might be a little bit of help to him right now, because he is struggling. And I wonder if that's the big issue. You mess up the braking zone, little twitch, overheated tires, lack of grip, gonna have to cool them down. And I wonder if that's the issue. And even there, that line for Ravazza 1, a little bit shallow, it felt like. He had to just back out to set himself up for Ravazza 2.
Yep, so he backs out. He now looks for a way to make sure that line gives a chance of attacking back. And so now comes the run along the main straight once again. We are down to 25 minutes to go here in this one as Jan Kurbs comes in for his final stop of the race. I'm shocked to see Kurbs in first out there in terms of the stop here, Craig, because I was expecting all of the Absolute Acelith cars in as the first ones to jump.
Yeah, usually Absolute Acelith, it's one for all and all for one. And I don't really think that they're trying to play that game right now. And I wonder if they're just trying to see how far up the road they can get, especially when you've got two of them in absolutely chaotic positions in third and fifth on the road, not in class because they're in two different classes. So look for them to come in soon because they did take some undercuts, some of them. Look for Klinger as well coming in soon. In fact, if we see Kurbs already in, Jake, when's Klinger going to come in? He must be on a clock now of about 3-4 laps to go.
I've just got word in, car 18 has been assessed 5 seconds worth of time penalty here for contact at turn 7, which is the Tozer hairpin. Car 18 does not leave car 66 enough space at the exit and does not allow 66 to get back onto the track. Now, the question is not whether he's allowed to get back onto track in my book for why the instant is given the penalty. It's the wording there of does not leave enough space at the exit. That's what he's got done for, because if it wasn't his responsibility to leave space, he wouldn't have to allow the car back onto circuit. Because he's pushed the car off, he has to leave the space back on, as in comes Caserta.
And then you come to the question, and you said it as well at the replay, did he push him off the track, or was he already going off? And you have to look at that, and I'm sure the steward have had a good look there. We know the steward, usually get the steward camera to have a look at what he's looking at. He's usually looking at us as, well, I wonder if it's just also going back to look at the cockpit, look at the steering angles as well as the drivers go by. Icon Lab absolutely gets a great run there as well. The Acelith cars in the pits a lot longer this time, Jake, I've just noticed. This could be crucial for Klinger.
It was Klinger going sideways through Tamburello. Volpato now leaving pit lane and will be also doing so with Caserta, and they'll be coming out then with Rafael Heck, who will just get out ahead, then Damiano Bellino. Then they'll find themselves into Spurs. So suddenly, Volpato on this last run is going to have to be aggressive out there. And something we do know, while this is a case of you've got to make the stops out there, I don't think anybody over the course of the running is going to be taking tyres out there. Damiano Bellino watching behind, as that will be a case of I'm trying to warm up my tyres there from Marcelo Caserta.
If you're taking tyres, what's going on? And I think that's what's happened to Volpato, or I think Volpato, either that's team orders or he's got issues out there when it comes to the tyre. That's a mistake, but I think he took tyres, Jake. I'm just having a look back. Yeah, he took tyres. That would have been 2 tyres.
And with that, your tyres are cold, and you've got to deal with the balance between the tyres then, between warm and cold. So Volpato's going to be Bambi for a couple of laps out there, and so very much it's going to be a case of I am going to try and do everything possible to say, look, I want to try and get this to grip up. It will do, but how much time are you going to lose in the first few laps for what you'll gain when the tyres are in the operating window?
Yeah, it's very interesting to decide that I need to just take the tyres, because that means you're going to be dealing with issues. I'm not sure what side they were, but then you're going to be having issues on the left and then fine on the right, or vice versa. And being, when you look at this track being a counterclockwise track, not many tracks are counterclockwise nowadays in the world. I wonder if and look at it, he's doing the weave. He knows he's got issues. He's warming these tyres up because this is the only place he can do it. I don't agree with this decision, Jake, to take tyres.
Nor do I, but it is the story of this race, and we'll keep an eye out on it here between Volpato and the likes of those of Marcelo Caserta. There's Jan Senkowski out there, who is running forward and saying, look, I'm going to try and just run this one away from Firefly iRacing Silver and Patrick Schaefer. And absolutely, they are doing that. They are managing that, and they are getting this race to be absolutely on point with what they are trying to go and navigate with. So Jan Senkowski holding his ground absolutely magnificently, as he has done on 6 occasions so far this season, and looking like he could be well on his way here as we take a driver's eyes perspective. He looks like he could be well on his way to his 7th win of the season out of 8 races started.
What a drive it's been for him this season. His teammates into the pits already, but we're going to have a nice quick onboard of how you're seeing this. And look how fast he takes this. Just keeps it in 4th, down 3rd, 1 gear for the first part of Villeneuve, and then slows it all the way down to get into 2nd. Controls the car, keeps it up there, and keeps the revs up as he comes through Tosa in 2nd gear. And now he's got to make the climb up. A little bit of a resting point here. He knows he's quite a while away. He's got the Huskenveld shirt on. One of the beautifulest liveries in the sim, especially on the shirt. Through Pereterra in 3rd gear. And look how wide he looks to attack it. And then the favorite part of the track for everybody. Attack that first part of Aqua Minerale. Avoid those curves and run up the hill.
Oh, it's close top left, top right of your screen there, as the pass made by Volpato stays ahead of Philip Klinger, but they are behind. We expected them to lose time. Jan Kurbs is just behind there as well in the number 93 Jens Brother competition car. Craig, I'm noting this right now. It's currently pending here, 5-second rule violation for the Jens Brother 93.
Oh, that would be horrible for them. Everything's going wrong for Jan today. And that is just not what he needs. He's already at the back. He's already been spun around. He's already had issues out there. What more do you want to do? Do you want to kick the man while he's down? That's unfortunate. And that's just a little bit of a head in the clouds moment coming through the pit lane. They know the rules. Hats off to the series.
Oh, bye-bye, Heck.
Around goes Heck.
Heck in trouble, and now having to get through the gravel in the Jens Brothers number 194 to get back up to speed. This is going to be agonizing in that Corvette. Think about the grass and gravel that's going to be deposited up the hill, down the hill. Aqua Minerale, toughest corner on the circuit, most people will say, for the sheer matter, Craig, of the fact you have to master the art of the trail brake.
Yeah, and he got those brakes on the AstroTurf, and you can see that rear was already going around, and trying to brake on the AstroTurf is not going to give you the traction like you would when you're braking on the tarmac. And around he goes. That's unfortunate. Got that car back, but in the gravel, that next time for the drivers through Aqua Minerale on the exit, a lot of gravel kicked up there. That's going to be a lack of grip. And with some of these cars taking 2 sets of tires, not entirely sure why, Klinger and the Huskenveld car didn't, that's going to be an issue for these drivers when they come back out.
Craig, I'm just going to point out to you right now that 5-second time penalty for car 18 is currently under appeal, and that 93 has now been resolved as no further action for violation on exit, but there was violation on entry for the 5-second rule. So it's very important to note there, 5-second rule violation on entry, it's 5 seconds, but minor contact responsibility is currently under appeal.
Well, they've managed to get that under appeal, and I wonder if that might get upgraded to a no further action in terms of let's just put a clean level slate, because it was hard racing altogether. We've had that chat before. I wonder if that might be it, but we'll keep eyes on that. That could be implications at the end of the race with 16 minutes to go. The last thing you want to do is to drive this race and not know what that penalty decision is. But sometimes, Jake, that's what you're going to have to do. Like these drivers, Sven Landgraf, still battling hard in the 140. When does he come into the pits? In fact, absolute ace-lift. And Maya, he's in the pits right now.
Yeah, this will be his final stop, 16 minutes. I'd expect everyone to come in the next 6 minutes and make their pit stops. And by the way, in the next minute and 10 seconds, if there is no incident, there will be no safety cars today, and that will be the case for the second straight week second straight round that we will have no safety cars across both races. So the standard of driving is getting better and better and better. Volpato then going around and then looking to charge 80 kilometers an hour down this long pit lane. I might argue here, Craig, Imola might be the longest pit lane in iRacing.
No, we're having this discussion again, aren't we? No, I don't know. It is a long one. Remember, it's F1 speeds as well, so it's a slow pit lane. But I think you have to look at, are we talking time or are we talking distance? Distance, I think you're there, because I don't think there's anything else that's longer. Maybe Daytona, but it's not a real racetrack. And Maya having to defend on Raphael Heck. And that was a moment out there. And the 170, he's already got the drive-through because of that. That's an off-track. That's an incident point drive-through.
It is, and that is going to be huge. And now that's a little half run wide. And on the brakes, he's just going to say, right, you're going to fight hard for it. You got no reason to fight me. I've got to come back in again. So at your own peril, then Raphael Heck to try and get by. Incident has just come back in, and it says that it is resolved, and it is still a 5-second penalty as the appeal is rejected out there. Trying to get back the other side is Raphael Heck, and he's just not getting the run that he needs past the battling against John Meyer of Absolute Ace, who goes around and spins through. I was just going to say there, Craig, there's a little interesting caveat there between the two teams, the Jens brothers and Absolute Acelith. Jens brothers have Raphael. Absolute Acelith have a driver in their ranks whose name is Michelangelo.
All we need now is a Donatello from Huiskenveld, and then we also need a Mikey from Negative Sim Delta. I don't know. We just need them all there, and we've got the whole set. But one thing as well, he'll be looking for the stars to see what went wrong there, as Amaya just lost the rear, probably just by getting too much on the throttle through the exit of Aqua Minerale, and he did hold up that Raphael Heck there. A little bit of hard driving by both of them with 14 minutes to go. And Amaya's already done his fuel stop. Going to have to go through that. These drivers haven't done their fuel stop. In fact, the top 11, Jake, have yet to pit. And we know that it will be in the last 10 minutes, one would think, that these drivers will come in for that last pit stop.
Those last few minutes, I think, are going to be critical here. And where and when you get into that stop. Landgraf on the back of Boromechkov here, for example, is part of that here. Zenkovsky stays out. Patrick Schaefer in for the final time.
Comes in for the final time, and he needs a good pit stop here. But remember, it was a little bit of a short stop last time. So how long will he be into this pits this time? Schaefer goes through. There's that 5-second rule. Just don't want to be in this pit box for a bit too long. And you get to actually see what the drivers have to deal with when they go through this, because once he comes out here, he's allowed to go straight. And speaking of interesting moments, he'll come through. He's fine. Safety car call has passed.
It has, so we will not see one out there in this race, as Schaefer will leave pit second in class, as the likes of everyone behind, Bruckner, David, Freiburghaus, Landgraf, they're all in, and they've all taken now their final stop of the race. Also in is Damiano Bellino, so leaving pits is going to be important here. Volpato will go by the likes of Sven Landgraf, so too will Philip Klinger, so too Marcelo Caserta, so that's going to be another car they've cleared. Jan Kurbs off of pits is going to be close as Bruckner leaves pit lane, so Kurbs gets the clearance too for the Jens brothers over Sven Landgraf. Important move.
Important move as Freiburghaus goes away. By the way, some of those drivers still were looking to see where they come out, because Klinger actually did a good second stop. And some of these cars at the front have to be a little bit worried, because he's doing really well. Talking to drivers doing well, Schaefer, that was a great stop. Under 40 seconds, 2 quick stops in this Lamborghini has really helped them. As Colin David, well, he would love a lot of help right now. It's not been the best day for him after all those incidents and that 5-second penalty now. And Mirko Bruckner's right in front of him. And I did not see if they took tires, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were just trying to roll the dice right now with 11 minutes to go.
Well, this is the time to roll the dice here, and Colin David has to, and I don't think he's got a choice right now in this situation where they are now looking at this championship being blown apart by the way this race has gone in the favour of Team Huisingveld. It's always difficult when you're up against a driver who is dominating at the moment at the front, but the reality is, being in 15th right now and 3rd is not cutting the mustard, and Colin David knows it. He's got to find these passes. He's got to hope for something late that can get him up the order. All he's got is Mirko Bruckner and a big gap. Eichenlaub then making his final stop, already off and away behind Patrick Schaefer by a mile. There's Nicholas Volpato. Suddenly that Corvette's going to potentially have to defend on the final laps of this race.
That's going to be tough as well. And I wonder if the Corvette took tyres. And that could also just be a problem. Volpato's right on the back end. This is for the marbles. And I look again, no tires taken. Now, remember how some of these drivers for Acerlift took tires? Is that going to play out good? Because you're going to have a very uneven set of tires at the end of this race. And I wonder if that is going to be an issue. Track temps now down to 29 Celsius, by the way. Jeez, that's a little bit of a move that I don't really want to see, but you can see why Venozzi was looking for it. He wants to get ahead of Landgraf to get up to Jankos.
In is Jan Senkovsky as Venozzi climbs to Piratella, looking for a way through. Vetsig will also jump in then with Venceslav Rajinov. Bajrek Tanovic is now also jumping in as well. Alessandro Venozzi down the hill, looking to try and find any which way to make the move, and he's not quite getting what he wants out of this one. Back up the hill, the draft of Jan Curbs is making all of the difference. You are not seeing this one as a case of I can make it, I can't. We're seeing this as a case of I can't get close enough to make that move. Senkovsky, by the way, out and clear. Schaefer is making his way along the main straight right now. This is going to be close on exit here with Venceslav Rajinov is trying to get up to speed, but through goes Patrick Schaefer back to second.
Schaefer back to second. I'm also just looking as well. Reisenhoff will come through. You've got Wepsig as well. Dennis is already through. I'm just looking at where that Huskenveld car is, by the way. Eichenlaub is going to be in a tight battle at the end here. Is Vapato going to look for the move? Deep on the brakes. Have he gone too deep? Got to slow that car down. Slows it down. These two are still going to be battling. Huskenveld, by the way. That is Klinger. He's up the order. Great recovery for him. Only 2 seconds behind these two if they start battling.
Yeah, Eichenlaub here is trying to give everything he can to get back. Nicholas Volpato has driven really admirably over the course of this hour so far. And I think we realise here that Absolute Acerlift, if they were able to put their driver lineups in properly here today, Craig, they'd be a lot higher up in the scoring results.
Yeah, they probably would have been able to do a good qualifying result and to go out and to run in that first race. And that just goes to the issue. You make a mistake in your openings, you're in the middle of the season. You don't get a gimme, you don't get a do-over, you don't get a mulligan. You have to be precise with these decisions, and stewards are strict on that, and you can see why as the drivers will keep on going. Klinger was having to defend a possible Caserta making a move out there, but they've also got the problem 4 seconds behind him. Ivan is there. There he is in that background. I don't think he's going to catch up to them, though. I think this might just be a straight-up battle between these two cars.
I look like this is, I definitely think this is going to be a case. Boromechkov's on his own here, and so everyone's found a little pack here, a little pack there. Caserta looking at Klinger, looking at Eichenlaub, looking at Volpato, and you're seeing where the differences are starting to lie. 7.5 minutes just under, and Marcelo Caserta moves to the inside against Philip Klinger on the run to turn 2 at Tamburello. Here comes the look down the inside, and he looks to take the place away, and does so. Stands up Philip Klinger and says, no, I win this game of musical chairs. That chair is mine.
But still got a shot, though. They almost came together. I think they actually just traded body panels for tires there at the end. It was a close moment as Klinger tried to fight that as long as he could. That Ferrari just doesn't have that top-end speed. I know there was a bit of overspeed there, but it does feel like it is struggling out there. Venozzi trying to put the pressure on Landgraf as well at the end of this, because he needs to get ahead to try and catch up to that Jens brother car up ahead in the 93. So this is an important move overall in the race, but can't find a way through. And now going to have to continue on a couple more laps to make some other moves.
He is, and Alessandro Venozzi here is looking to try and give what he can to get through on Sven Landgraf. We'll have Jan Curbs in front, then Ivan Boromechkov. Suddenly this group of 4 with 6 minutes to go are looking around at points here, or who's going to count their chickens before they hatch over at Watkins Glen. So that's going to be there in play. Car 170, by the way, has been given an automatic disqualification for failure to serve a black flag penalty. So they are done with in this race, and they are officially disqualified.
And that was a black flag for the incident limit. That wasn't a black flag handed out by the stewards. That was an in-sim black flag for not serving that, for having the incident limits. That's a really weird one to get there. You've got to be alert on any sort of track out there, and that is just a weird one. That's going to hurt absolute Asolif at the end of the day. Speaking of Asolif, this is the move that Venozzi's looking for. Can't get it on Landgraf. Landgraf is struggling out there. The pressure's on.
Pressure very much on here. Alessandro Venozzi still wants his move on Firefly iRacing and Sven Landgraf working hard. Oh, bang! Heavy accident in the wall goes Venozzi, and it's so easy to do at Villeneuve like that. Loses it by going over the inside curb too much. Bang in the wall, and if it makes it any worse for the damage that they now have a drive-through.
And that's just adding insult to injury, but it was way too aggressive. Look, watch this again. He's trying to get the best line to open up there, trying to carry the speed. I wonder if he was too busy looking at Landgraf in front of him. I wonder if he just had that fixation of there was Landgraf. Can we just hold on? And I think that's what caused that moment. Just a small lapse of concentration. And that is two Asolif cars with lapse of concentrations in the last lap.
That's going to really hurt them in terms of what they're looking at here. Jan Kurb still looking to push, and that's a wiggle there on the outside. Astro from Curva Grassini. Ivan Boromechkov fading here in this race. -4 for the day, and it could be -5 if Jan Kurbs has his way with this move. It's deep into the corner of Ravazza 1 then from Boromechkov. He'll look to fight it back through Ravazza 2, but Kurbs has got himself a case of, right, I want to try and get myself a big level of pace. I need a bucket of pace. I need to keep climbing up the order and giving everything I possibly can. And Ivan Boromechkov, I think, is looking at this going, yeah, but I've only got to hold myself for 3 more laps.
Well, did I just hear you say 3 minutes? No, you said 3 laps. No, this is definitely the time for them as well. Needs to hold on to this. And realistically, when you think about the overtaking places that Jan can put this car, it's just a start-finish rate. Maybe the run up to Piratella, but you have to get it all sorted. That might help him if he goes onto the gravel, goes straight on the defense, and he's got to slow down to serve as well.
Yep, so now he's got to be careful about how he serves this here, as now they'll go side by side up the crest. So this is big. It's served. So now here comes the opportunity. Side by side at Piratella. A long way around. It's going to have to be from Boromechkov. And now, wrong side of the road. If you're the Jens brothers right now, where do you go? Jan Kurb trying to get it round the outside. Holds his ground, but the inside line is still there. And just forcing his way to get that sorted. Great stuff then from Boromechkov against Landgraf. Kurbs. But now here comes Landgraf, who can't find himself the way to get the pass.
In all due fairness, that was fair from what Boromechkov did there, because he knew that he had to serve the slowdown. Did it off the racing line when you think about it, or the only place he could. Didn't deviate, just kept that down, and they had to take that fight. Side by side for Acro Minerale is dangerous, and they made that safe as they could do, and that was real good work by them, but it's cost them time. Landgraf right behind, and even though Landgraf is the Pro-Am, that is still places on the road that they do not want to lose, and they're going to have to try and shake him with the, 3 laps to go, 2 laps to go.
Craig, I just want to talk Pro-Am Championship for a second, because the gap that we walked into with that one was 71 points between Firefly iRacing here, the 140 and 141, and the 138 and 139 as Venozzi and Vetzig. Oh, that's the Damocles he didn't want to see. He gets hit now for incident level. Then on the final laps of this race, he's got to come in and serve that penalty. I was going to say Firefly iRacing here, the 138, 139, have found their way to get through up to the top level and say, right, we're back in it for the Pro-Am trophy. But for the moment, that's going to be huge. Vetzig has completely seen his rhythm just break out their curves, still holding his ground.
What was it you were saying earlier, Jake, that this is the longest pit lane in the sim? Oh, he's got a drive-through. That's a big-time moment. In fact, I think the last drive-through was 24 seconds. And if you look where Vetzig is on the road, that's almost going to put him behind his team. Well, not behind a teammate, but behind the Huskenveld car that we're seeing in front here of Philip Klinger. That is a big-time decision, a big-time moment in the championship. And dare I say it, championship implication. Think of the points German Sim Racing's going to lose.
Well, think of the gap that Team Heusinkveld's going to gain, and this has been the story of this season, really. They have been just too good every single time. In comes Vetzig now to go and serve that penalty. Final lap starting here for Jan Senkowski. Our focus with Boromechkov, who runs wide here with Curbs, with Landgraf at the moment. Vetzig is getting down to the end of the pit. He might actually come out into this group, and that can be even scarier out there as he gets himself up to speed. There he goes. He's going to leave right now, and they is going to be mogged as he gets himself on towards the brakes here. Here they go. 1, 2, and 3. Is it going through? Yes, it is there. Landgraf gets one as well. Lars Vetzig then is going to be absolutely kicking himself. Curbs looking at Boromechkov now, trying to get to the inside, switches back to the outside to try and get any sort of run here coming through at Villeneuve and get the drive here to Tosa. Big defensive line, no door open there. Landgraf will now go around the outside of Tosa, looking for position and almost gets his drive then as he looks to climb the hill. Little bit of contact between the pair of them as they look to run up, but it looks like Landgraf's got it. If he's braver on the brakes, throws himself across to try and defend. A send back to the inside isn't going to get there. Over at the Ravatsas now, Team Heusingveld will know they have just been given a huge modus operandi for the remainder of this season. Jan Senkowski, 7 wins in 8. He is all conquering, all dominating, all elite in the way that he goes about his business.
You could say that Husgenveld are all in. Schaefer's going to get hold of the win for the Pro-Ams out there today. That's a slobber knocker of a victory for them with a great time out there in the strategy. Talking of penalties, though, Jan went too wide through the Grassini chicane, had to serve a slowdown. That has given Websig that position. He's going to get some way to just get a little consolation. Borometrov will come home here with that victory ahead of this queue. Landgraf will get the P2 for Firefly. That big.
It's mega. Absolutely mega for Firefly iRacing there. The 138 and 139, the silver and bronze, compared to the red and blue team that are out there and giving their absolute everything for it. Colin David finds himself then in that 10th place in class and realizing that German SimRacing Red have not had the day that they've wanted at the office, and this one is going to cost them the time. It is going to cost them the placement. It is going to cost them opportunities later on in the season. And the later you have a bad round, the more difficult it comes. Raphael Heck after that spin as well, crossing 2, and there will be the last finishers then on this race. But there's your winner, flashing the lights, understanding he is absolutely all on it for what he does, and he looks pretty content with himself the way he's gone about business today. Jan Senkowski has got himself a monster result out there here from Racing Action at Imola. We'll get now your official results up on screen. They are actually, they're not official results, they're unofficial results because they do not apply the penalty bonuses that are added on at the end of racing. So that is also something worth noting out there. But Jan Senkowski takes pro category then and does so by 13.8 over Ventslav Rajchanov from Negative Delta, with Denis Bayraktarovich then in third for Sud Sport Racing. Absolute Acelith 69 find themselves in fourth ahead of Team Heusingveld and Negative Delta by SimGear.gg, with German Sim Racing in seventh through Lars Vetzig and the penalty, and the Jens Brothers competition and Jan Curbs then in that 8th spot overall. You look over then to 9th, 10th and 11th there. Alessandro Vanozzi in that Absolute Acelith 70, with Colin David from German Sim Racing and Pascal Hurl from Sud Sport Racing as well. A lot that has had to be navigated through. We'll now move over to the next run of pages where Craig King has your Pro-Am trophy.
Pro-Am trophy, Patrick Schaefer takes that victory overall for Firefly iRacing. Nicholas Papato will be second for Absolute Acelith, and then it's Julian Eichenlaub for Jens Brother in third place. Then Landgraf will come home in fourth for Firefly, and his teammate Stephen Freiberghaus right behind him in fifth. Mikko Bruckner will take a good sixth today for Firefly, and Dameo Bellino will be in seventh. Raphael Heck will take 8th place. When we get to the last page, I think it's our one retiree in the Pro-Ams. John Amaya will come home with a disqualification. You've got to serve those black flags, Jake, and unfortunately he did not.
No, and that really cost him over the course of today, and it will cost him in the sense that this is a circuit that often puts the difference between hero and villain quite finely, and this is a circuit that suits a certain style of driver. We talked about it. It's a precision-based circuit. If you pick up an incident point penalty around here, there's only one person you can turn around and say the blame is going to be apportioned to. It's yourself.
And that we've seen a lot today. I'm surprised, actually, Jake. This is not usually a track that I think about off tracks, but the drivers were pushing the limits so hard today. They were looking for every piece of road that was legal, and they found themselves tipping over that legality a bit too much today. This could be a record in terms of drive-throughs, in terms of a long race at Imola, and the drivers will have to just keep themselves behaved for the next time by, because you don't want to be doing that again. That's going to be even more damage. And we talk about damage. You look at German sim racing. That inch going over probably just cost them a lot of points in the championship.
That inch can cost them miles in terms of what they're looking for, especially in 2 weeks' time when we will be jumping back into racing action here with the GT Open at the boot layout of Watkins Glen. We're going Americana for this run of the penultimate round of the championship, 13th of September. You can catch that then with us, 1:45 UTC, 9:45 Eastern, as part of a Genesis Extreme production. We will take this time to bring in your race winner at the double, Jan Senkowski, here with us right now. Jan, home track for your car out there at Ferrari, and you absolutely looked completely in control through both races. I'm sure it doesn't do it justice just how difficult it is to paint between the lines, but from a position of challenge, were you expecting to be fighting a Pro-Am all day today, or were you expecting maybe more of a challenge from those behind in your division?
Well, thank you, first of all. No, I didn't expect Pro-Am to be Martin Mamura for, like, I think the full first stint in the second race. But I thought it would be a Lamborghini anyway, to be honest. It's just a different one. Yeah, very happy with how it went today.
That happiness comes also down through the fact that you had your teammate there, Philip Klinger, who was helping out in terms of result. How much have you paid attention to the championship coming into today, and how critical was it to get two very strong performances, to get back up inside that top 10 and to score massive important points to build the margin?
Very, very important, as Nick couldn't race today again. But it just very short notice stand in, and like in terms of Philip, who I think wasn't racing for 3 months now. So just stepped in his rig today again, and yeah, it's just about getting some points. Yeah, just not losing the car over the curves. Even I think 2 or 3 times nearly lost it there due to a bit of lack of concentration today. But yeah, very, very important points. That was all that we came here today and in the first place to make the rest of the season easier.
And it's not an easy run-in for a championship. I think you and I both know that when you've got Watkins Glen and Adelaide to pull it out. We'll talk Watkins Glen here. There's a lot of running that's been done at this circuit, but how critical is it to make sure you get a good qualifying at the next round, knowing how much of a pitfall the run up the S's is on the opening lap?
I think it's basically as important as in Imola. Because here in Imola with the cold tires in the first laps, yeah, we do have to be careful over the curbs because they can unsettle the car very easily. And once you start to slide with a bit of cold tires, you're done for, basically. So, yeah, I don't think it's more important than in Monza and Imola here. But yeah, still very important.
Cold tyres seem to be freezing out everybody else the way he's running. 7 wins out of 8 for Jan Senkowski here from Team Huizingalda. A pleasure, as always, to bring him in for a conversation. But there is more on the horizon with us in the Global SimRacing Channel, which includes in just under 35 minutes time, because we'll be over at the Spider's Web at Barber Motorsport Park. You can catch Joe Peak and myself then to cover all of the action there. Queen City's going to be back in action on Wednesday. Monza will be where they look to try and conduct their next round of the championship as the Skip Barber Race Series on Thursday finds its conclusion at Brands Hatch in terms of what has been some amazing racing racing over there. And then the iRacing Grand Prix Tour also heads its way to Monza. The Temple of Speed, a double dose here with us and the Global Sim Racing Channel. In terms of the crew that's brought this one to you, a massive thanks to the cameras provided by Dougie Beard, from Christian Deploy, our director, Craig King, alongside myself, Jake Sperry. And a day of pure joy is going to be had from Team Hoisingveld. They just have this series on lock. They understand what they need to do to win. They go out there, they deliver, they get the result, and nobody seems to turn a blind eye to the fact that they just keep doing Team Hoisingveld things. If it continues like this, and with not the best day at the office from their main rivals, German Sim Racing, we're looking at this one being a very open and shut case for what they want this championship to be. It is a magnificent result, and they will head to Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time with the sheer understanding that they probably at this moment in time have one hand here on the SimRacing Republic GT Open.
This is iRacing.
This is absolutely huge.
Cannot script this
Straight
race.
down the inside, we want into the corner. There's a bit of panel rubbing.
There's contact.
Sanchez Gonzalez, who's around.